you.
And thank you, Marta. Also, a big thank you to the governor and to Mayor Wilson for being here today. I feel very proud to live in the state of Oregon and have the incredible collaboration ship from the governor's office to the mayor's office, which really brings us to today. I think Oregon has been ready for this moment. Not that we wanted this moment to come. Our office has been in collaboration with the governor from the beginning of January to this moment. In America, we don't use our United States military on our own citizens, but except in extreme circumstances. It's actually un American, if you think about it, to use the military against our own citizens. But that's exactly what's happening right now across our country, from California to DC to Memphis to Illinois and now to Portland. At 9:32 this morning, we received communication from the governor's office that the president had invoked Title 10 to deploy Oregon's National Guard to the city of Portland. I had told our staff, and we've been talking about this for a really long time, that the moment that we got notice of a deployment, that I wanted to be in court with a lawsuit filed within 12 hours. As of 2 o'clock today, we have a lawsuit filed in Portland in the United States District Court to protect Oregon and its values, less than 6 hours from the moment we received notice here in Oregon. Since late last week and through this weekend, I think it's really important to note that you've had lawyers and staff at the Oregon Department of Justice that have been working incredibly hard, people that canceled their weekends to make this moment a reality, not because they want to, because they have to. The need for this action obviously does not come as a surprise to the governor, does not come as a surprise to the mayor, does not come as a surprise to me. And we've been working hand in hand for this unfortunate eventuality. I want to thank the governor. Can't thank her enough for her partnership and for her leadership in this moment to try and mitigate this moment, work with people across the aisle so that we didn't have to be here today. And it's unfortunate that we are. What I would say is that all of us agree on this Zoom, and frankly, I think across America, that public safety is and should be always a top priority for all of us. The problem is that the president is using social media to inform his views instead of working with elected leaders across this country. The president is either purposefully ignoring the reality on the ground in Portland to score political points, or at best, is recklessly relying upon social media gossip. The president's actions today only serve to further divide us as a nation, as a community, under the guise of caring about public safety. Caring about public safety, that means cooperation and partnership with leaders, asking us, what do we need in terms of public safety? We have an incredible Portland Police Bureau that the mayor can talk about. We have an incredible Oregon State Police that the governor can talk about. We have a wonderful district attorney that is doing his job in Multnomah County. Public safety requires partnership, and the president has shown absolutely zero interest in this. Cities and states across this country would welcome and are thirsty for a conversation with the president to be able to improve our public safety and a real conversation about what resources we do need in this country. And that just isn't happening. So some quick background on the lawsuit before I turn it over to the governor. The parties in this case are the state of Oregon and the city of Portland. It was filed earlier today in the U.S. District Court of Oregon in Portland. It is our intent to file a temporary restraining order, and that is something that will pause the action of the president and his subordinates. And we hope to be in front of a judge within the week to be able to do so. So again, just incredibly grateful for the partnership with the governor, incredibly grateful for the partnership with the mayor and their teams. And I will go ahead and turn it over to the governor.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney General. I really appreciate your leadership, and it's good to be here with you. And Mayor Wilson, although I wish we were doing something else on our Sunday, to be very honest. It's another beautiful day in Oregon's largest city, and it's the second time I've been with press this weekend. I think this is a sad day for our country, a sad day for Oregon, that the President of the United States does not listen to local leaders about what they need and how we can be in partnership. When the president and I spoke yesterday, I told him in very plain language that there is no insurrection or threat to public safety that necessitates military intervention in Portland or any other city in our state. Despite this, and with all evidence to the contrary, he has chosen to disregard Oregonians' safety and ability to govern themselves. This is not necessary, and I believe it's unlawful, and it will make Oregonians less safe. As the Commander-in-Chief of the Oregon National Guard, I will always prioritize the mission of the Oregon National Guard and make sure that the resources of the Guard are used towards the needs and the values and protection of Oregonians. Putting our own military on our streets is an abuse of power and a disservice to our communities and our service members. Regardless of who is directing their deployment, I want everyone to remember that the Oregon National Guard is made up of Oregonians who are citizen soldiers who are our neighbors and our friends. And I will use everything in my authority to support them as Oregonians, and I will have their back. Again, I will be working in close coordination with our Attorney General. Oregon is our home. It is not a military target, and we're going to fight back to make sure that we can keep Oregon safe. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Mayor Wilson.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, AG Rayfield. Governor, I want to just appreciate your leadership in these difficult, trying times. And AG Rayfield, thank you so much for working with our city attorney, Robert Taylor, on crafting the suit that you'll be releasing shortly. It would be an understatement to say that I am so disappointed at the irresponsibility of our federal government. We do not deny that Portland has hard and important work to do, and we've been doing it. Chief Day, our Portland Police Bureau leader, has been doing incredible work to bring down almost every metric in Portland. And our entire city, our city council, all of us have been working to turn Portland around. We are in the midst of a renaissance. And if you go in any part of the four corners of Portland today, you'll see people enjoying the sun, paddle boards, people biking, gardening. We are having a resurgence that we're so proud of. We have been working hard to repair, restore, and revitalize our community, and it is working. And all of us know it, including those across the nation. To bring this narrative to Portland to say that we are anything but a city on the rise is counter to what truth is. We know that we have hard and important work to do. We know we have to continue to fight for our value, but we want to be fighting alongside our federal government, not opposing one another. We don't need troops on our soil in Portland. Portland is not an enemy. We are friends. We want to be fighting with the federal government to increase the focus on housing and homelessness. And we want to fight with them beside us to focus on Medicaid and Medicare and SNAP and those benefits that our community needs so much more than boots on the ground. If you want to help us fight for behavioral health and addiction services, something that we can help those that are suffering on our street, truly lift them up, not a show of force, which is really all it is. It's just a big show. And after the big show, everybody goes home. And that's what we want to happen here. We want to acknowledge the difficulties that our nation is going through and let everybody know that the difficulties are not a fight for Portland, Oregon. It's a fight for our values across our nation. And that's what we want to be doing in this partnership. Well, thank you, Governor. Thank you, AG. Really appreciate standing with you on this in this important time and on these important issues.
Thank you all. We are now ready to open it up for questions. Go ahead and use the raise hand function, and I will call on folks in the order that I see the hands. Evans, McMorris, Santoro, go ahead, and please also share your name and the outlet you're calling from.
Yeah, hi, this is Evan from notice.org. Thanks for having us on this call. Governor, General, and Mayor, I wonder if you can tell us what you expect to happen in the next 5 days. Are we expecting to see, troops show up now? And if so, what are they going to be doing? And what do you expect your local law enforcement, other folks to be doing? I think that there's been a lot of confusion this weekend as to what actually comes next now that this order has happened, this lawsuit has been filed.
Well, obviously, the president took it upon himself to disregard rational conversations to activate Title 10, to activate Oregon National Guard members. As Commander-in-Chief, I am no longer in charge of the members that he will be calling up. It's under the control of the Northern Command. We don't have details to share. It's unclear what the mission is. And when you don't have a clear mission, you don't know when that mission will end. At this point, I don't have any other further details to share on the actual use of Oregon National Guard members.
And in our lane, the Oregon Department of Justice, in collaboration with the governor, the goal is within the next 24 hours to be filing a temporary restraining order in our courts to stop this from occurring before it starts. And that's why it was so important to file early, to get a judge assigned so we can be in front of that judge, talking with the judge about the reality on the ground, as the governor and the mayor have talked about. And then more importantly, talking to them about why this is unlawful. And the only conditions that you use this authority is when you're being invaded, right? Yeah, then under those conditions, you may actually want to have the U.S. military forces. Under a case of a rebellion, under those circumstances, you may want to do that. If you're trying or you cannot effectuate the United States laws, those are other areas. But none of those conditions exist here in Oregon. They didn't exist in California. They didn't exist in Washington, D.C. And that's why those courts have sided with us in those cases.
Next question will be from Ewan McCurdy.
Hi, Governor Kotek, Ewan McCurdy from CBS News here. Could you first elaborate on the conversations you've had with the president and or his administration, and also tell us a little bit about the details that the state is doing to prepare for troops within the city?
Well, we were certainly, as many Oregonians were, surprised by the statements made by the president yesterday that he wanted to deploy troops. I attempted to have reasonable conversations with the administration about what the goal was, what the basis of maybe taking that action would be. And we just have a substantive disagreement about what the situation is. We have free speech demonstrations that are happening near a federal facility, one federal facility. Portland Police is actively engaged in managing those with the federal folks who are at the facility. And when people cross the line, there's unlawful activity, people are being held accountable. This is not an insurrection. This does not require military troops in an American city. And in terms of next steps, we are going to fully support what the Attorney General is doing through legal actions to hopefully suspend this. We will continue to communicate what the situation on the ground here is. And at this point, want to encourage Oregonians to be sure to let people know how they feel about this in lawful, peaceful ways, and because that's who we are as Oregonians.
All right, next up, we've got Matt Shepard, K2 News.
Hi there. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us. Governor Kotek, just to clarify, I want to clarify here, and then I have a follow-up question. The Oregon National Guard, is that officially under President Trump's command now?
That is correct. Under utilizing Title 10, I'm the Oregon National Guard. The troops he is calling up are under his control.
Okay, got it. And what I do have I did receive information that there are hotels in the area, in the Portland metro area, or at least the Oregon National Guard has been reaching out to hotels in the Portland metro area looking to house troops at those hotels. Are you aware of that, or do you have any information on that?
I do not have any details on what the potential timeline on the deployment would be.
Okay, and just one last quick question for you. You said you've spoken to President Trump. Is there just how did that conversation earlier today, or was it earlier today or yesterday? You had conversations with the president and what his plans were specifically to you about what he was going to do?
Well, I did speak with him directly yesterday, as has been reported. We had a text exchange today, and what I can say is The text exchange started with the assumption we would continue to have conversations. Then we received notice that they were invoking Title 10, and I expressed my disagreement and disgruntlement with that decision, and that's where we've left it.
All right, thank you.
Next up, we have Maxine Bernstein.
Thank you. Can you explain, Governor, how you received notice at 9:32? Was it a phone call, or how did that come in? And also, what the direction is to local and state law enforcement if federal troops arrive?
Sorry, I was going off mute there for a second. So the answer to the first question, we received notice by emailed notice to our office and to the Adjutant General about the invocation of Title 10.
From who was that from?
From the military.
Okay. And the second part was,
The Department of War, yes.
I see. And the
And
second
follow-
part is the direction to local and state police if federal troops arrive in the city.
This is an evolving situation. We do not have any direction at this point because we don't know the timeline. And of course, the Attorney General is seeking stay here as well. So we at this point have not made any direction to local law enforcement. And let's be clear, local law enforcement has this under control. It is not clear where folks are going to go, what they're going to do, why they have to do it, how long they'll be here. All of this is up in the air, and that is not how this should be happening. And it shouldn't be happening at all.
And then my other question to Attorney General Rayfield, what other cities have been successful in this legal challenge of Trump's deployment? I know there was an injunction ordered by a federal judge in California that's on hold. Are there other successful efforts?
Yeah, so the two jurisdictions right now would be the state of California, as you noted, with the order in Southern California. And I should note for everyone that the manner in which the president has invoked Title 10 and moved forward is the exact same manner in which he did it in California. In Washington, D.C., it's a little bit of a different animal, but that's the other jurisdiction that has received, that had a case filed on behalf of its attorney general in that district that was successful in the initial stages.
All right, we'll move on next to Jenna from Coin 6.
Hi there, everyone. So, Attorney General Rayfield, I know you mentioned that one of the appropriate times to enact this is when we're being invaded, but since we are in unprecedented times, I was curious, at what point do city and state law enforcement absolutely have to comply with federal law enforcement and by extension, the president?
I think the one thing to note is that all Americans have to follow our laws, and that includes the president. And the law that the president is attempting to use requires the only time that you can use the power that he's invoking is when there's an invasion, a rebellion, or when you cannot effectuate the laws of the United States. Now, none of those conditions are present in Oregon. So just like I have to follow the speed limit, the president has to follow the law if he wants to invoke Title 10 under these circumstances. And that is the basis for the lawsuit moving forward.
Well, and if I could just add, the president could increase civilian federal law enforcement to assist with local law enforcement in collaboration. He is choosing to deploy federal troops, and in this case, federalizing the Oregon National Guard. This is not a law enforcement mission.
All right, next up, Summer Al-Jabouri.
Hi, this is Summer Al-Jabouri from K2. So we received reports this morning that the president spoke to an NBC correspondent over the phone and seemed to be potentially backing down from sending the troops. We're still searching for footage or transcripts, nothing so far, but do you know about this, and is it related to the text exchange you had with the president today?
I'm not aware of that, but I'm always open to doing everything I can to protect Oregonians because we are on a pathway that is not good for our state and good for Oregonians' safety and our public safety here. I am open to other conversations if the president wants to have them, but I'm not aware of that.
Another from Matt Shepard at K2 News.
Hello, Mayor Wilson. A question for you. What are you doing, or what plans are in place for the Portland Police Bureau to work alongside, or how they're going to be involved in dealing with this influx of troops in Portland, and how that's going to work, seeing this federal trooper, the federalization of the Oregon National Guard in Portland, along with Portland police officers? How's that dynamic going to work?
Well, it's fluid right now. I would say that we don't have the information on the timing, logistics, the legal aspect of it. There's so much up in the air right now. Certainly, we're having conversations with Chief Day and his department, but right now we do not have anything definitive on the deployment, whereabouts, logistics, and so on. So we're really going to rely upon the governor and her leadership and AG Rayfield and our city attorney to see what resources we have prior to that. And then once that does become a reality, then we'll put more of a protocol together.
And have you spoken with President Trump at all, as Governor Kotek has?
No, as the CEO of the state, the governor, I'm really relying upon her at that level to have that conversation.
All right, thank you.
Next, we have Raquel Coronel Uribe from NBC News.
Hi, yes, thank you so much. I was just wondering if the administration has provided any guidance on the amount of troops that will be sent to the state and whether they will be armed.
I would just reiterate, we don't have any details. Okay, let's think about this. The President of the United States believes we are under attack. He believes we have been invaded. I don't know what he is thinking, but we have zero details. And yet he is telling Oregonians to be called up to duty. That is wrong and it is un-American.
Next, we have Mariana Alfaro.
Hey, Governor, I was just wondering if you have any message to activists and demonstrators who have protested outside the ICE facility, and whether you think that this, entire situation could have a chilling effect on people's speech in Oregon.
And I would open this also up to my colleagues. Oregonians believe in free speech. We understand, and we have had hundreds of thousands of Oregonians demonstrating, rallying since the beginning of the Trump administration, almost predominantly in peaceful fashion. If someone is doing something that is unlawful, they will be held accountable. All of us are encouraging Oregonians, do not take the bait. You need to peacefully lift up your voices. Do not let the President of the United States bring an escalated moment into our state and cause more problems for us. I believe people can let themselves be heard lawfully and peacefully, because that is who we are as Oregonians. And I know people should keep that in mind as they continue to participate in events.
I would just say this is a precarious moment in the history of our country. And if you look at the past 9 months, what has gone on, let's look about it in the totality. It started off with attacking the independent judiciary, criticizing anytime you don't get an order you like, threatening to remove judges. This is coming from Congress. This is coming from your President of the United States. Our founders said a co-equal branches of government are an incredible tenet of a democracy, but it doesn't stop there. We've now started to see him attack free press overtly. And that went on last week. And we're having this conversation in our country. We've seen them wanting to game the system by creating a redistricting plan so they can regain power or retain power in Congress. And you are seeing them normalize military across this country in multiple venues. It's a frog in boiling water. It's an incredible problem. And that's why I'm incredibly proud to be in a partnership with the governor and the mayor, and frankly, AGs and governors across this country that are drawing a line in the sand saying this is not acceptable.
Yeah, and let me just add, Portland has a proud and long-standing track record for large, peaceful protests and demonstrations. It is something that we really hold fast to as our First Amendment right. And I think the rest of the nation should be looking up to Portland, not looking to Portland as a city in crisis, which couldn't be further from the truth. And we have a long track record of leading the nation with social justice movements. We're very proud of that. The thing that concerns me is this is a surreal moment that is being manufactured as if it's a made-for-TV event, and the administration is trying to really trip us up instead of partnering and being a friend and focusing on how we partner together to move forward. We're actually being looked to make a misstep. What we're talking to our community about is let's stay true to who we are. I firmly expect us to rise up and have significant peaceful protests, not only today and the days ahead, and I look forward to participating in those protests with the governor, with the AG. But we need to really be true to who we are, and that's peaceful protests. And we need to turn a cold shoulder to this overt focus to try and trip us up, and we won't be tripped up.
Next, we'll take a question from you, Ewan McCurdy.
This is a question for all three respondents, really. Have you had discussions with your counterparts in other jurisdictions which have had troops sent in, for example, in Los Angeles or in DC?
Can you get that repeated? I couldn't hear that.
Yeah.
I apologize. Have you had conversations with your counterparts in other jurisdictions which have had troops sent in?
Democratic governors have been chatting and talking. I've had conversations with Governor Pritzker, who has had been experiencing similar threats from the federal administration and have been in communication with Governor Newsom. And again, we are all concerned across our country that this is an abuse of power, and we are all trying to figure this out together.
And the same is for attorneys general across the country. So last night I was on a call with AG Rob Bonta in California. I think it's an incredible moment where you have such collaboration among governors and attorneys general together. I should even say the Secretary of State's the collaboration when it's for defending our election laws. So it's a very fortunate space I think we're in right now.
Next, we'll hear from Evan Watson.
Hi, question for the governor here. I wanted to ask you specifically about the source of information leading to these actions in the federal government. In that NBC News interview referenced earlier, President referenced your call yesterday and said, I spoke to the governor, she's very nice, but I said, well, wait a minute, am I watching things on television that are different from what's happening? My people tell me different. They're literally attacking and there are fires all over the place, end quote. What do you make of the sources of information leading to these types of actions and how they might be different from what you're saying?
Well, I'm glad the president thinks I'm nice. My parents have always taught me to be nice and clear, and I have been nice and clear about what the situation is. Here's the deal: we cannot be looking at footage from 2020 and assume that that is the case today in Portland. We are working very hard to get the message out. And when people come to Portland, like, it's great. People are loving it. They love the restaurants. They love the community. They love being here. It is a safe community. And our crime statistics are down. This is a safe place. Look, like any other major city, there are challenges. But what I said to the president is, I don't understand what information you have. When he says to me that the federal courthouse is under attack, that is absolutely not true. And some demonstrations happening at one federal facility that are being managed on a regular basis by local law enforcement. If that is the only issue he's bringing up, he has been given bad information.
All right, we have time for just a couple more questions. We'll do Claire Elmer and then Matt Shepard.
Hi, this is Claire Elmer. I'm with KTVZ News in Bend. And this is more kind of touching on citizens from across the state, not just in Portland, but places where I am, like Central Oregon, where the concern may not be troops coming to our area, but more the precedence of executive power. What would your message to the rest of Oregonians be on what you see the biggest long-term risk for democratic governance if troops are deployed would be?
This is a concerning moment, not only for the entire state, but our country. Across the country, states, National Guards, our citizen soldiers were trained and ready when there are real emergencies to deal with. In the state of Oregon, for example, we have a unit that is trained up for wildfire suppression. Right at this moment, we have a major fire in Southwest Oregon along the Coos and Curry boundary there, places that are in level 3 evacuation, like the beautiful town of Agnes on the Rogue River. Right now, I don't need those National Guards people, but I could. I don't need them in Portland. And these are folks who, by the way, are coming off from their day jobs, potentially to do a mission without a clear goal, without clear necessity in the city of Portland, where they could be going to their day jobs as police officers, as firefighters, as nurses. That affects the whole state when we are not ready for a real emergency because the federal administration thinks that they can play games with the Oregon National Guard. And the fact that we would activate in a situation, as the Attorney General said, when there is no basis for this, is incomprehensible. It is very concerning for our country.
I could probably add something to that as well. Mayor Kebler in Bend has joined a letter along with many mayors throughout Oregon supporting or opposing the federal militarization of our law enforcement. Tomorrow at Portland City Hall, we're going to be convening mayors from across the state, pushing back at this overreach. And I'm happy to have the mayor join me and the many other mayors from across the state to state that we're standing together at this particular moment.
Just for a broader context, this is not the first time the president has been doing this. This has been from day one. Remember, within 24 hours of those executive orders, lawsuits were filed. They continue to go on, usurping the power of Congress, ignoring federal law, ignoring our Constitution. This is a long line in a pattern of behavior to expand the executive authority. And so I think you'll continue to see lawsuits be filed as long as the president wants to press the bounds of our democracy.
All right. Last question, Matt Shepard.
Thank you. Governor Kotek, just to follow up, you said that you spoke with the president yesterday on the phone, and then you said today you were texting with him. So just to clarify, you received notice that Title 10 was being invoked through a text message. Is that correct?
No, just to clarify, I heard through an assistant of the president, apparently he texts and then it gets sent to me, and he mentioned he noted our conversation yesterday and that, he's concerned about things at the ICE facility. I thought we would have an opportunity to follow up today. Between that text and my ability to respond, I heard that we had received official notice via other channels that he was invoking Title 10.
Okay, got it. Thank you for that. And do you know if there are any plans for, and this is kind of, I guess, a question for any of you, are there any plans for any of you to go to Washington, D.C., meet with President Trump or any of his officials or any of them to come out to Oregon to have any conversations? I mean, is there any information like that right now?
You know what? I'll drive the governor and the president around in my car all throughout Portland, and Mayor Wilson can give us an itinerary of his favorite spots. We'll make a day of it.
Sounds good. Just one last quick follow-up here. Aside from Oregon National Guardsmen being in Portland, was there any mention that there were going to be federal soldiers like Marines in Portland also, or is it strictly Oregon National Guardsmen at this moment?
At this point, my understanding is with the Title 10 invocation that it would be calling up Oregon National Guard members. We don't know any other details past that. We have not heard of active military troops being assigned here, which would be a significant escalation on top of this already problematic situation. So I hope that is not being considered.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
All right, so we'll turn it back to the three electeds if you have any final comments that you'd like to share before we close out here.
Mr. Attorney General? Would you like to?
And again, I just want to thank the staff and the folks at the Oregon Department of Justice again who've been working through the week to make this happen. It is no small feat to be able to get a lawsuit filed so quickly here in Oregon. So we have amazing, committed people that are working on behalf of all Oregonians. And then just again, a big thank you to the governor and the mayor and their leadership and their partnership in this moment. And we will be looking forward to being in front of a judge earlier this week to really lay the grounds of how the president has not met any of the thresholds to be able to deploy military forces against its own citizens. And that should happen, and we will keep everybody updated as that goes on throughout the week.
And I want to thank the Oregon Department of Justice and the Attorney General and his team, because we have to fight back when we see injustice that does not align with our values and what is a real situation on the ground here. We should always be prepared to work on real emergencies together with the federal government. This is not one of them, and this is an inappropriate action by President Trump.
And I'll finish by saying, Governor, thank you so much for your leadership. It's a privilege to serve with you. AG Rayfield, thank you for working with my team and being available when we needed you. And then I'll finish with just my gratitude to the journalists on this call. I'm proud for the job and the hard and important work that you do as well to just continue to shine a light on these issues. We need you now more than ever. So thank you.